Tonight we are getting into not one, not two, and certainly not three, but in fact, 4 peated Islay scotches. Specifically, 4 Ardbeg scotches. Welcome back to Tipsy Whiskey Shenanigans. I'm Steven, and today we are doing a Ardbeg flight, more or less. So essentially, what I'm doing is I have 4 Ardbegs. They're the 4 Ardbegs that are under $100. The 4 contenders for tonight's flight, going from lowest in the realm of price. We're gonna do this on the realm of price. We're gonna go from lowest price to highest price. Starting off with Ardbeg Wee Beastie, the 5-year-old hitter from Ardbeg. Then we're gonna jump up to the Ardbeg 10, their 10-year-old Ardbeg. And then we're gonna transfer to the Oa, this about $70-ish bottle of Ardbeg. And then we're gonna go to the Ugedal. I know I probably didn't pronounce a lot of those right, but I do love myself some Ardbeg. All these are non-chill filtered Ardbegs. They're all roughly around 46% ABV. The Wee Beastie is a little bit higher than an OA and 10, and then the Ugedal is the one coming in at 54.2%. So Ugedal has a solid lead in proof, which typically leads to flavor. So I'm expecting I'll definitely most likely like the Ugedal the best, given that is also the $90 one, whereas the other ones are 50, 60, and then 70. So we're gonna go through one by one and kind of see what's the differences between these, because honestly, I'm kind of a novice when it comes to peated scotch. Well, not necessarily a novice, but I'm very confident in my ability to taste, smell, all that jazz. When it comes to bourbon, I'm like, I know my shit there. But with scotches, I'm a little new to the game. I've been into, drinking peated scotches, but I have not really sat down and torn apart a peated scotch like we're about to do right now. Starting off with the Wee Beastie, 5-year-old Ardbeg at 47.4%. So this is the youngest, cheapest, but because it is younger and cheaper, they did actually raise the proof by 1.4% compared to the 10 and the Oa. So we're gonna go ahead and get into this one, and I'll let you know what I think about it. Ooh, so on the nose, I know these are all very heavily peated, or well, what they term heavily peated. It's not like, Octomore or anything like that, but it's very fruity, very fruit forward, not getting a lot of oak impact. Yeah, getting a lot of like caramels and vanillas. It's mostly just really sweet fruit, more or less, with like smoke. It's smoky, sweet fruit. Kind of like if you like grilled a pineapple. That's exactly what it reminds me of, like grilled pineapple. It's like kind of smoky from singeing on the grill, but it's also, very sweet because it's a pineapple. But let's get on the palate. So on the palate there, the smoke instantly takes off. It's very campfire, burning wood, and then it kind of goes into like a briny, peaty smoke, and then it finishes off with a nice little bit of like an apple, caramel, vanilla. Slightly aggressive and bitey, but again, this is a 5-year-old peated scotch, so we're kind of expecting it to be a little bit more aggressive. It's a little bit higher in proof than the rest, so no surprise there. But let's move on to the 10. Let's get on the nose on this one. Yeah, so on the nose of this one, I'm getting a lot more of like a floral, spearminty kind of earthiness, more or less, along with that apple, that very sweet honey, caramel, vanilla. But on the Wee Beastie, I was not getting any floral or like anything of that aspect or any herbaceous flavors. And this one, I'm starting to get a little bit of that on the nose, which is actually really, really nice. Let's go ahead and get on the palate. I'll be honest, until now, I've always claimed that Wee Beastie is better just because it's a little bit cheaper. But going from that palette, or going from the palette of Wee Beastie to this, Honestly, Ardbeg 10 knocks that out of the park. It's so much more developed. It has that same like sweet caramel. The smokiness is honestly a little, so the smokiness on Wee Beastie, way more aggressive. Ardbeg 10, it's way more muted. It's still there, but it's way less aggressive. So if you're looking for like a giant punch of smoke, Wee Beastie's your guy. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more like complex, nicer to get into, 10's gonna be your way. It's smoother, a little bit easier to approach. The smoke is a lot more muted, and then it brings out a nice little floral, fruity, sweet aspect on the palate. So very interested. That was kind of the one I really wanted to see a little bit more about, is does that $10 from Wee Beastie to Ardbeg 10 really make the difference? And honestly, I think it does. I think it makes a way more interesting Scotch drinking experience. So if you're looking for a punch, Wee Beastie's your guy. If you're looking for something a little bit more interesting, more intense, more developed of a flavor profile, or maybe not more intense, but a more interesting flavor profile to tear apart, 10's your way to go. All right, now let's move from the 10 to the Anoa. Anoa. I honestly don't know the proper way to pronounce any of these, but I like to drink them. And so this is gonna be the one that personally, so before I got into this, my thought process, again, like I said with the Wee Beastie, I thought Wee Beastie was better than Ardbeg 10 just because the price difference, and I never really side-by-sided them. And Oa, I really don't think is that much more complex to raise the $15 from the 10. But let's go ahead and get in it, and we'll see what's going on. Ooh, so this is reminding me a lot of like almost like a bourbon flavor profile. This is, yeah, you're getting that like that apple, that caramel vanillas, a little bit of like a cardamom and clove in there. That's very nice. A little like dilly too on the nose there. And obviously we're gonna get that smoke. We're getting that smoke throughout. I'm just kind of moving that as a baseline. I can't really tell a difference off of the nose, which one's more aggressive in the smoke department, going from the 10 to the Anoa. But I can tell you that the Anoa is bringing a lot more rich sweetness and kind of like baking spices to the flavor front, which I'm kind of digging. It reminds me a lot more of a bourbon compared to 10. Like 10 was a lot like that's a Scotch. This kind of reminds me of like a bourbon-esque flavor profile, and I'm kind of digging it. Let's get into the palate. Ooh, on the palate there, that comes at you a little bit. It's oaky, smoky. It's a lot of like a wood-burning campfire type smoke. Not super briny. A little bit briny there at the end as the smoke finishes. But overall, it's more of like a campfire smoke, and it brings in a lot more of that baking spice, that clove, cardamom, dill, kind of like things you would typically see on like a high rye bourbon or like a high corn rye type flavor profile. But we're also getting a lot of those like apple sweetness, that fruitiness, and a lot of caramel vanillas. Let's get into the last and final bottle we have on the list, which is the Oogie Doll. And this one is the one that towers above in proof, so I'm fully expecting that this one is going to knock the rest out. That being said, this is $90, whereas the other ones were $50, $60, and $75. So even if it is more complex, is it worth the price jump? We'll answer that after we taste this. And on the nose. Ooh, just moving from the rest to this one, you can tell this one's way more intense and richer than the following previous whiskeys. This is, I'm getting more oak, more smoke, more peat, more like herbal, herbaceous flavor profile. And I don't mean more as like, that's like more overpowering. It's just like, I'm not having to search for those flavors. They're coming at me. they're trying to hit me. They're fighting me a little bit. As we've been progressing, it seems like it's moving away from that like campfire smoke and going into more of like a briny, peaty, salty smoke. But let's go ahead and get on the palate. That's intense. So one thing I will note that I haven't gone on all the rest, because all the rest have been lighter fruits. This is starting to pull out some darker fruits. So I'm getting a little bit of like a plums and a little bit of like a fig note on there. Getting maybe a little bit of an olive. I don't often typically get those, but kind of like an olive. It's salty, it's more briny, like I said, on the nose. You can definitely tell that on the palate. It's way more briny and way more aggressive than the previous ones. A lot oakier and herbal. I'm getting a lot more baking spices, a little bit more of like a dill note in there. Very freaking good. Honestly, this Uigeadail might be my new favorite peated scotch. I think it's fan-freaking-tastic. So that brings the question up, is it worth it to pay the extra money for these other scotches above the previous ones? And honestly, before this video, I would have said just buy Wee Beastie and Uigeadail. Those are going to be your two best ones. That being said, going through it, I honestly do think it is worth it. I think the 10 is not miles, but it's definitely a better scotch than the Wee Beastie. The Anna, definitely better than the 10. That's the only one I will asterisk. I do think it is better for sure, but I don't necessarily think the $15, like going from $60 to $75, I don't inherently think that's a little bit better. And if you're gonna go that, I would say probably just skip the Anna and go straight to the Uigeadail, because that is miles above the rest. But I do think it is a better whiskey overall, and that's kind of what I'm here to judge. And then I do think that Uigeadail knocks every single one of these out of the park. If you're looking for a peated scotch and you know you like Ardbeg, you can't go wrong with any of these. These are all fantastic peated scotches from Islay. If you're looking to spend $90, I say go straight to the Uigeadail. If you only have $50, go straight to the Wee Beastie. If you have $60, 10's where you need to go. And that's kind of where I'll leave it at. I don't know if the Anoa is necessarily worth the price jump from the 10 to the Anoa, but again, I do think it is a better scotch overall. But that's a wrap for this video. Please do us a favor, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you guys thought about this video. Let us know what you guys think about this bottle. Let us know if you guys would rate these any differently. Honestly, the only one I just don't really necessarily think is worth the money is the Anoa, because I don't think it's inherently that good for the price jump. But that's just my personal opinion. Also, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and our Patreon. We appreciate y'all for your support. Cheers. We'll see you later.